So the Chancellor has just spoken and he's talked about his mini budget post-COVID-19. What we're going to look at in this video is exactly what help is there for property investors and how this will affect property investors. And I think this is good news, so stay tuned. If you're new to this channel, my name is Ranjan Bhattacharya. I've been investing and developing properties for over 30 years. And this is my channel. We put out videos each and every week. It's all dedicated to help you be more successful in property and keep you on top of your game. If you haven't already done so, make sure you subscribe and hit the bell icon so you get notified as soon as we upload a new video. Also, tell me what you think of what we're saying in the comments below. So I've literally just finished watching the Chancellor's speech. And I've taken a few notes and I want to kind of give you my analysis of what it means for us as property investors. And I think it's good news. I think it's real good news. Now, a couple of things he said. He says that property transactions in May really fell by 50%, which is hardly surprising. No one could get out there and do viewings. He's also saying that property prices have fallen, but that's a bit of a patchy story regionally, quite frankly. There's some areas of the country which are actually doing quite well indeed. He said some interesting comments, like he wanted to do something about stamp duty as a short-term measure to help people in property. And he said his motivation for doing this is to help people buy, help people sell, help people renovate, and help people move. And I thought that word was interesting that he used through in the word renovate. Stamp duty, SDLT, kicks in at 125k. That's the current threshold at which it starts being payable. What it's proposed to do is increase that to 500k. So anything under 500k, no stamp duty will be payable. It takes place immediately. So obviously he's heard my concerns that I expressed in the last video, that it's no good announcing that you're going to do it at some point in the future, because all you're going to do is send the market into hibernation while people wait until the time that stamp duty kicks in. So it kicks in immediately. The threshold is now 500k. People were talking about it being temporary. Yes, it's going to be temporary. He said people were talking about 6 months, but it's actually a full 8 months. It will expire 31st of March 2021, effective immediately. Now, he did say this was main home. So this is really to help people moving and buying their own homes. But, and this is the big but, if you're buying a second home, or if you're buying a property in a limited company, or if you're buying buy-to-let property, a 3% surcharge applies. So my take on this is that if you buy a property for £499,000, there is no SDLT, but you will pay the 3% surcharge, which means 3% SDLT will be payable. So on my calculations, if you're buying a £500,000 home in a limited company or for investment purposes, buy-to-let or what have you, a second home, then £15,000 stamp duty will apply, because that is the what 3% would be as a surcharge. Now that's still quite good, because I remember over a decade ago, that was typically what stamp duty was on homes like this. Now, what does that mean for property investors? Well, it makes some interesting things viable, which for a long time have not been viable, particularly in high value areas in London and the southeast of England. Now, for a long time, in the southeast of England and in high value areas, doing strategies like flipping and doing a quick refurb and selling on simply weren't practical strategies, because the amount of stamp duty you would pay would just kick the thing into no profit zone, quite frankly. But now all of a sudden, doing simple finding properties of motivated sellers, which we're going to find plenty of in the coming months, and then flipping them on. If you're only paying a limited amount of stamp duty in order to do that, then that suddenly becomes viable. Doing simple renovation projects, like before stamp duty got really, really high, we used to do a lot of things like buying simple flats. There'd be 1-bedroom flats, and you'd do a bit of layout changing and suddenly make them into 2-bedroom flats, and you can flip them on. All of that became unviable because of high stamp duty in the southeast. If you're just paying 3% on those sort of strategies suddenly come back into play in higher value areas. Also think about buying properties and doing simple PD works on them, permitted development works on them, to improve things like just normal residential homes, because there's a lot you can do to improve those without the need for planning permission. And those as flips, as renovate and flip suddenly come back into play. Again, prior to this, high value areas, it just simply wasn't worthwhile because of the stamp duty. The other boon for doing things that I do, like commercial to residential conversions, is it suddenly makes your end product so much more attractive. So if you're doing a shop and uppers, and you're converting the space above shops, behind shops into residential use, or you're making an office building into residential units, then your end product is likely to be under £500,000. And if you can get those projects done and on the market before 31st of March next year, then that is going to be fantastic, because this is going to be a massive boon for people buying their first or second properties. I think this is all about encouraging people to buy their own home. It's typical conservatism. It's sort of textbook conservative strategy. That's where the help is targeted. So as investors and developers, where we're going to be benefited is by really making that end product. When we make those end products from converting commercial buildings into residential usages, then the end product, if it's under 500k, it means that people will be able to buy those at with no stamp duty payable. That can be a sort of great boon for people. A couple of points in closing, really. The problem is that 95% of family homes outside of London can be bought for 500k. But if you're a family in London, then you're stuffed, because there's no help for you if you need to move to a family home, and those are 600-700k, because that's just the prices in London. So it is a little bit anti-London, but if you're outside of London, then pretty much 90% of homes, more than 90% of homes, will actually benefit from this 500k threshold temporary reduction. And finally, who said there's no such thing as a free lunch? The Chancellor has announced some moves to make us be able to eat out to help out, as he calls it. We can get 50% off when we go to a restaurant. I was getting very excited when he announced that, because I was planning to make some bookings on a very swanky restaurant in Mayfair, until the Chancellor announced there's a £10 cap on what you can get. So it seems to be bargain buckets from KFC will be what that will buy. So enough of that. That's the update. We'll have more as and when the details of these changes emerge. That will be coming in the coming days. Tell me what you think in the comments below. Make sure you subscribe, like, hit the bell icon for regular updates. I've talked a little bit about commercial conversions. Again, that's my bag. I believe there's a big opportunity in repurposing particularly shops and uppers and former office buildings into residential usages. We run a whole bunch of training on that. You can check that out at the link below, succeedingproperty.com/workshop, and see you guys in the next video. Bye for now.